So yeah, so what we will do is, we have this sheet with us. Now, what we are going to do is we will see how to create hierarchies and how to drill down and how to create drill downs. So to create a hierarchy, what we do is we can create it in two ways. One we can do is like we can go to any of your dimensions. You can go and put a right click, and you can go and you can see like you have this option which calls hierarchy, and you can create a hierarchy. Else, what you can do is you can just take this. So we have category, right? So if I want to create a hierarchy, what is a hierarchy? A hierarchy is nothing but a sequential form in which I want to see the data. Or in our day-to-day work lives, you will see hierarchy. Like there is an associate, above it there is an analyst, then there is a senior analyst, then there is a manager, no, a team lead, a manager, and then the manager reports to a director, or the director to a VP. So this is an hierarchy, right? So if someone wants to see the flow of something based on the hierarchy, that means that I want to see how is my sales doing with respect to the entire hierarchy of chain of things that I'm investing into or I want to drill down to. So that's basically hierarchy, which in a sequential in a sequential manner it will show up the data. Okay. So so over here as well we can create a hierarchy. So let me just show you the other way of doing it. So if I have subcategory and I have category, and I want to see this in a hierarchical manner. So what I can do is I can just uh, you know click this field and I can take it over to category, and see then automatically what happens, category, subcategory, a hierarchy comes up, right? So let me name it as my let me name it as say product. Okay. So so see what happens, a hierarchy symbol comes up. Excuse me, I'm having a bad throat today. So see, a blue symbol comes up of hierarchy, and which I've named it as product, and it contains category and subcategory, right? So if I drag this hierarchy onto my rows, see the product, if I drag, it automatically gives the category in there, right? So now you see once you create a hierarchy, what happens is there is a plus symbol beside the category, right? Which shows that there are further more drill downs available for you in order to see your data. Okay. Or maybe the other way I'll do it. Hmm. Cool. So now if you want to say, suppose, see furthermore categorize, you what you need to do is you need to create on this plus, which basically shows you the subcategory. Now uh, now the hierarchy is category and subcategory. So we have the category, and then we have the subcategory which we can do it. So if I do a minus, what happens is this gets. Now we can create hierarchies like this as we want to. As say, suppose you're a manager, or you're an investor, or you're a team lead who wants to check your data on a hierarchical manner, so that you know how much of my category and subcategory is functional with respect to sales, maybe. So what you can do is you can very well look at it from the okay. Now say, suppose you have product name. Now you want to have the product name bifurcation as well as part of the subcategory, as part of the hierarchy. So what you can do is you can drag it to this and see automatically subcategory has a plus symbol now, correct? So if you do this, what happens is you get the, now you get the product name view of it, subcategory and product name, correct? Also, you can define how you want to see your data. So if product name is something you want it as first in the hierarchy, you can do that. So let me remove this. So now see, product name has a plus because product name is at first, and then comes category, and then comes subcategory. So so that's how you can drill down on your data, and you can see that you can see that how I want to see my data or how I want to drill down my data. That's how you can do it. Okay. So now, once you so this is something that you have created for yourself. Now then there are some of the categories which are auto defined. Okay. So yeah, anyway, anytime you want to remove a hierarchy, you can remove it like this. You can do a remove hierarchy and the cat and it becomes fields again. So now some of the categories are auto defined in the hierarchies, namely dates. Okay, so if you have a date, do we have a date over here? Yeah, we do have a date. So if I drag date over here, you will see that it is always coming as year and order date. Whereas, see, why we say that these are auto defined, because these are see, order date is only a single field that is coming from the data. There is no hierarchy that we are manually defining in it, but as they are auto defined, what happens is it gives a hierarchy. So if I want to see with respect to year, I do a plus, I get quarters. When I do a plus, I get month, and when I do a, I get days. So if you are someone like, if you're a manager, if you're a sales manager, say suppose, and you want to see the day wise or month wise sales for it, you can very well do it. So if you have sales over here, so you know that what is my sales, and then you go to quarters, you get the quarterly level bifurcation, you go to month, now you have the month level bifurcation, and finally when you do this, you get the day level bifurcation. Okay. So that's how the auto defined drill down works, and this is also called a discrete data view. We will do a discrete and continuous today, and whereby we will know what is discrete, what is continuous, how to identify them. But as the name suggests, uh, you know discrete is basically where it is differentiated, or where something is separated, and it's not a aggregation, it's separated. We can see separate views, or we can see separate things with respect to the thing that we are talking of. So that's how we can do it. Okay. So in case you want continuous, in case you want a continuous stuff, you can very well go and you can do this. You can put a right click, and what happens is you can put it as continuous. So if you put it as continuous is nothing but, if you see, it's an aggregate that happens, right? So it's an aggregate of the things that are happening. That's how aggregation happens, and you know that's how it is made as continuous. So the point to be noted over here is that why we are talking of discrete or continuous. Once we where is order date? So we have this order date, right? We were talking about discrete. Discrete is separated. We can separate things, right? Where we are separating. But if you look at it from this manner, whereby we made the year as continuous. Continuous is whereby things get aggregated, correct? And when things get aggregated, you will see and aggregated, and we cannot separate it. So always keep in mind, we will talk of it in today's session only in the later phase. Discrete can be separated, continuous is aggregated. Now continuous cannot be separated because continuous is always based on a aggregation function. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, Vinod.
Yeah, okay. So continuous is basically whereby you have something which is aggregated using a sum, average, multiplication, whatever. Like, there will be a function or an aggregation that will happen whenever there is an operation happening. But the point to be noted over here is, now when I make year as continuous, what happens is I'm not getting those drill downs in there. But all like see, I don't have the drill downs. Why do I not have the drill downs anymore? Like, separate in a separated manner. That's because we have not. Oh, I'm very sorry, very sorry, very sorry. I'll tell you something before I go to continuous. The that is whenever you put a right click on anything on a column whereby you have defined a dimension, the first box that comes is for discrete and the second one that comes is for continuous. Okay, so I should have told you this before I show you this. So if you have ordered date again over here, so when you change it over here, this is basically for discrete. Okay, and discrete will have those things. But when I take order date, hey, order date, order date, yeah. So when I make it continuous, I should refer to the box below. This is for discrete, this is for continuous. Okay, so when I choose year, now see, previously when I used to click in this plus, what used to happen, year to quarter, there used to be one more pill. So when I'm talking, when I tell a pills basically nothing but fields. So people refer to these elements as pills. So you would have seen when I click on this, I get a pill which talks about quarter, the next pill talks about month, and the last pill talks about days. But over here, what happens? Over here, you see, if I click on the plus, quarter comes in the single thing because it is a continuous and continuous is always aggregated. Month, see, everything is coming in a single thing, it's not getting separated. So that is the difference between discrete and continuous as well, whereby we discrete can be separated, whereas continuous is not, cannot be separated, but they're aggregated. And the dimensions as well, whenever they are made continuous, they get aggregated with some value, and they cannot be separated, but they come in one view itself. One more thing, whenever you see discrete and continuous, a very basic difference is the color, right? So whenever there is a continuous or a measurement, we will have a green color over here, and whenever we have a dimension which is discrete, or anything, like, if you want to make it discrete as well, it will, but it doesn't make sense. So whenever you will have a continuous, it will be green, and whenever you have a discrete value, it is blue. Okay, so yes, so it will, like, whenever we are trying to bifurcate bifurcate this thing, a field using continuous, it will definitely be bifurcated, but it won't be separated. So that's the thing. So that's all about drilling downs and hierarchies. Now let's see what is called grouping. Okay, so grouping is whereby grouping is nothing but if you want to group multiple things into one place, that is called grouping. And when you select multiple and create a group, it basically gives you separate uh, what is a dimension altogether which has a group in it. So if you have like say 25 products for yourself and you know that four products are identical and you want to see all those four together in a group against all the rest of the products, you can create a group and you can tally for yourself. So grouping happens in many ways. So let me show you one example maybe. So say oh say that's how it is. Column में से इसमें रख देते हैं, ठीक है. So that's how it is. So we can see that the thing is like this. So we have Africa, APAC, Canada, EMEA, EU, LATAM, and US, and we have the sales over here. Now I want to see Canada and EMEA's data with like Canada, EMEA, and Africa's data with respect to say LATAM. So what we will do is we will go and click over here, and I'll check say suppose Africa, Canada, and EMEA. These three I'll select. I'll wait, these three I'll select, right click. So as soon as I do a right click, there is an option called group. So if I click on group, you will see all these three are grouped together. Now there is one option of you see that is written as T. T is nothing but labels, or maybe we can do it the other way as well, whereby we put sales over here. So we can have the labels right like this. So what we can do is we can have like that as well, or like this. We can have the labels together. So the point is that we can what we can do is we can create a group and we can compare the data that is there. So this label is not coming due to these being very big. So that's why it is not coming. But if we do in this view, you can see the labels coming up. So what we have done is we have grouped it, right? And once we have grouped it, we see that things are coming like this. So yeah, so that's basically how you group things, and you when you want to compare against the other things. So that's called a grouping by header. Okay. Now what we can do is we can create groups from the data window. What is a data window? This is my data window, which consists of um, you know um, that the dimensions and measurements. So what I'll do is what is the other way of creating a group? The other way of creating a group is whereby say suppose I want to create a group in my subcategories. So I go to my subcategory, I put a right click over here. There is an option called create, and from create I can go and create a group. Okay, so you see there's a group that comes up. So over here, what I do is I can select the groups that I want to make. So say suppose I want these 5 subcategories to be grouped together. And what I do is I select them and there is this option called group and I group them. So they get grouped and now it is asking me for a name. What I'll do is I'll rename them as mm, as say suppose product or say subcategory group. Okay. So the subcategory group is created, apply, and OK. Now we see the subcategory group coming up, right? At any point of time, if you want to, add anything to your group, what you can do is you can do an edit group, and over here, and then you can add to the group. Say suppose you select this and you can add to the subcategory group and see envelopes come up in there. Okay, so you can apply and do, and now you can basically compare your data. This is your subcategory group and this is your subcategory. So if you see the subcategory, what happens, see, you will see all the subcategories coming up and then the subcategory group coming up. But then if you put subcategory group at first, you will see that these are the ones which, oh, okay, let me take one enemy. Okay, now you see what happens, everything like this, and then subcategory group showing up their own value. Okay, so if we say do like this, and if we plot a chart like this, so what we can see over here is that, oops, yeah, what we can see is this is basically a single identity where we know that these are the ones which are grouped together, and this is my testing, this is my testing field that I want to see, and then these are individual stuffs against which I want to see my data. So that brings me to another thing whereby, say if things are like this, and you have plotted it, so always, like, take help of the labels. The labels will help you to identify the stuff, so you can compare your individual subcategory products with the group and you can see what difference does it make for you. Okay, so that's how you can create a group um, from the data window. Okay. Okay, cool. So let me remove this, let me remove this, let me remove this, let me delete this as well. So next comes in grouping. So we have seen two types of grouping. One is grouping by header, and the second is grouping from a data window. Now comes the third thing. We can create hierarchies in grouping as well. Okay. Hierarchies in grouping as well. So how can we do it? We have seen how to create hierarchies earlier. So what we can do is we can go to category. Say suppose I want to do a category. You can do for any dimensions. Let's do for category hierarchy, and then uh, create a hierarchy. Okay. So let us name it as category hierarchy. Cool. Now we have, let's say we still have this group. I shouldn't have deleted it. So okay, apply. Okay. So that's my subcategory group. Now say I want to, so what I'm doing hierarchies in grouping itself. Okay. So what I do is let me drag this subcategory group into the category hierarchy. Okay. So so if we see what happens in here, let me pull the category over here and this over here, and oh, leave it like this. Anyways, so and let me have maybe a sales. It will be okay. Yeah, like this. Okay, so what happens over here is we have this subcategory group and the category beneath it, whereby this is basically the hierarchy, right? So now I have my categories, how the categories are functioning in respect to sales. When I do a plus, what happens is the hierarchy now gets me the subcategory groups. So this is my category. My category is performing like this. And now when I do this, what happens? Only the ones which are in the group and not all the subcategories. So if previously what we had done is we had pulled the subcategory into the hierarchy. So what happened in these three categories, whatever subcategories were there, all were visible, correct? But now what we are doing, what we are aiming to do is we have created a group whereby we want to see with respect to category only those subcategories which are grouped together. So and created a hierarchy. So what happened when I do a plus, it shows me the subcategories of these these being the subcategories, but in the subcategory group, if you see, it only shows me the ones which we have grouped together as part of the hierarchy. Okay, so that's how as well you can create a group and you can set it up as part of your hierarchies. Okay, so in order to delete a group if you want to, the third way of grouping, that's the third aspect of grouping rather. Okay, so let me again cut it. And the last part of grouping is basically uh, visual grouping. So how do we do that? We Let me take say profit into columns and let me do it as okay. So whenever you have a measure with you, what you can do is you can right click and you can have these various things that you want to do with your thing. Uh, the various things that you want to do, sum, average, median, count, minimum, maximum, percentile, everything you can do it from right click and you can do you can change according to this. So let me do an average because I want to do a scatter plot. So for scatter plot, always it's an average that we take into consideration. So let me take this and let me take say shipping cost over here and let me make it average as well. Okay, and yeah, and then let me take my subcategory and put into colors. Okay, can you see it or it is blur? Are you
No,
guys
we
able
can
to
see
see?
it.
Okay, you can see it, right? Okay, perfect. So now see what happens is now what I've done is by profit and shipping cost, I've created a scatter plot. Okay. So now what you can do is say, oh, let me remove this. Now what you can do is you can see that you have the various subcategories that are there. So this is copiers, this is bookcases, etc. So all these you see over here are the subcategories which are plotted accordingly. Now from here, say suppose you want to group these. So if you have used scatterplot earlier or if you are working with data a bit or you know about data, you will always know that we do a scatter plot whenever we are calculating standard deviation, and we want to see that what are the factors which are near to my axis and what are the factors which are far away from the axis, or whatever component of my test is at one place, and then what are those factors which are far away, and we want to analyze those factors and see why they are, what is the factor that is differentiating them from the rest. If suppose that is the case, say for example I want to have these for I want to have these four as a separate group which I want to analyze later. So if I do this, if I select these four things, and how will I differentiate them from one another? By creating a group, correct? Because these I see as close to each other. So when I select this, how will I create a group over here? See a click button over here, right? So if you click that, it will tell you that there can be a group created named subcategory, and that is called subcategory group 1. So now see what happens. As soon as I create a group, all these four come into a single group, and the rest go to others group. So if I want to anyhow, like, see something over here, or if I want to, show mark labels, and if I want to see whatever test I want to do, I can easily differentiate my group of subcategories from the rest of the subcategories, and I can say that this is the group that I want to test why these things are like this. Clear? Okay, so that is called a visual grouping. So how many types of grouping did we see? We saw four types of grouping. One is grouping with headers. One is grouping using data window. One is hierarchies in grouping, whereby we can use groups in hierarchies. And the fourth one is visual grouping. Okay, so that's about grouping. Next, what we will go off. Any doubts in grouping? Good.
Good enough.
Perfect. So next we will see some of the things that are already coming by default in my system. Okay, what are they? They are called they are called measure names, and they are called measure names and measure values. So see, there are
One
by
doubt. One doubt. In scatter plot, can we increase the size of the the scatter based on the value?
can we increase the size of the?
Scatter chart, for one dot, if we have different values, we can increase the size of that particular dot, right?
Yeah. We can do all those things. You can format everything over here. So you need to just go and you need to check your field and you can format it. You can change shapes of it. You can do change with the sizes of it. So everything you can do.
The size may be like based on the data. I mean, if that is less, small dot. If that is high, we have big dot. Like that.
Yeah, that you can do, but then your data has this is not the right data for what you're asking for. So if you want to have that done, then you need to make certain changes, which is a very good question, I know. But that is not as that is more of a bubble chart that we do. A bubble chart basically has those, those big bubbles and small bubbles and all these things, that customizations we can definitely do, but that is not this easy as we are talking of. But that has to be shaped in a bit, so that the data has to be in such a shape that we can do that. But let me okay let me do something. This is a good question. Let me find an example for you so that I can show you how to do it. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. What we were seeing measure names and measure values. So you will find by default some fields coming as in italics. You see, measure names, measure values, latitude, longitude, and orders. Why orders? Because order is basically the lowest level of granularity or the most unique thing in this, and there are no duplicates in the data in the field. Basically, order count is basically the most unique feature, so it is taking orders away. Previously, it used to be number of records. So whatever records are there, you can have number of records, which is basically which used to be done. Now it is orders count, because this is an orders thing. But if you go over here somewhere, it will show you. Huh. Generated field that counts the number of records in the orders table, correct? Because this is orders table, I'm getting this as orders. Okay, so what are these and how are they helpful to us? What we can do is, let's say for number of records, let me pull it to rows. No, I want to see the numbers. Yeah. So we can see that the number of records that are there in this sheet is 51290. Okay. So this is what sample superstar. So that's basically the number of things that are there in this sheet. Now, what is the use of it, or how will we want to uh, you know s- mm, verify like how are things, um, is it really that or not? So what we can do is we can have count of orders. Okay, let me keep it in text and let me get my subcategory over here in rows. So now if you see what happens is it shows you the number of records bifurcated in subcategories is this much for each, correct? But now you tell that, okay, this is how it is coming. How will I see the subtotal? So to see a subtotal of things, what you can do is you see there is something called analysis over here. You can go to analysis, you can go to totals, and you can show column grand totals. So when you tell show columns grand totals, you see it is 51,290, which we were seeing earlier, bifurcated by subcategories, right? So that's how you can check your check the orders count or the number of records. You can verify because sometimes maybe your data is automated whereby it is getting aggregated in a weekly or a monthly basis. So what you can do is you can go ahead and you can check for yourself how are things doing in terms of this. Okay, so next, measure names. Okay, so let me put measure names over here. You see no values coming up over here. But then if I just take measure values and put into text, you will see what happens is this is giving me a list of all the measurements in there. Okay, see apart from this latitude and longitude, why it is not coming? Because latitude and longitude is not coming because it is a part of the map chart, and we will see map chart very soon, in which latitude and longitude will come into play as a measure. So it doesn't come when we are trying to check measure values because it is not an aggregation. We cannot be aggregating it. It's a geographical property, right? So that's why it doesn't come. But apart from that, whatever is aggregatable, you see count of orders, sum of discount, sum of profit, sum of quantity, sum of sales, sum of shipping cost. Everything is coming in over here, and it shows me that how much of discount was there, 7330, how much of profit happened like this, like this. So basically, using measure names and measure values, we can see the things like this. And if you want to see it as a graph, you can very well see it as a part of the graph, and you can check for yourself how the things are doing. Okay, so that's about measure names and measure values. We will see how these things work very soon. This is what you do with the auto generated fields in your data. Next, we will talk about discrete and continuous. So, as we have talked, whenever you connect your data, you get some textual fields and then you get some numerical fields. Okay. Wherever you see a blue color dimension, they are basically discrete. And wherever you see, I'm not sure how much you're able to see, but if you are able to, then these are basically in blues. And see, these are all the dimensions, and these are the measurements which are in green, correct? So uh, we have some textual things and some of the numerical values in here. So whenever you go to the blue color dimensions, they are discrete, correct? And the measures which are in green, they are continuous. Okay. As we have talked earlier, discretes are discretes are separatable factors which we can separate um, using which we can separate um, in certain manners, whereby if I go and say category into columns, oh, okay. If we take category in over here, we can see that furniture, office supplies, and technology are coming separately, but a continuous is a measure which are aggregated. Say now I remove it and I take if I take sales over here, what I see is it is coming as sum of sales and it is not getting bifurcated into certain things and they are not separated. So that's basically a continuous, correct? So discrete will be in blue always and continuous will be in green always. So let's check how to, like, some of the things which we can create in order to check our discrete and continuous variables. Okay. So let me take my subcategory into rows and then let me take my sales into columns like this. Okay. And let me sort it to descending. Okay. And let me get my labels at place. Okay. So now if I do something, if I bring my category into colors, see what happens. All the separate things that pertain to certain subcategories, they get a different color altogether. Correct? Red, orange, and blue. These are the three colors that are assigned to the categories which we want to be separated together. So that's why they can be separated. That is the feature of a discrete value. Correct? Now,
But
if I pull
Vinay,
out
why it's some data label is not showing, some is showing?
what data level is not showing.
Like first section phone is showing 1,70,000, right?
Yeah, that is because of the alignment. That is because there are, like, bars which are okay. Let me do this, and you see this is coming. That is basically a space issue, nothing else.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So so see, so discrete values can be separated and separately colored. Now for the same example, let me remove category and let me bring in sales to color. See what happens. Now it is not getting separated, but it is getting a gradient color. This is called a gradient coloring, whereby it is blue only. But what is it happening? It is a continuous field. So there is a continuous shade of blue. And if you see the right side as well, to 73404 to 1700 because I have taken sales, it is giving me a gradient coloring and it is not separating the sales altogether, and it is showing the continuous feature of the continuous nature of this field, which basically is showed when we put a continuous value into color. Whereas when we are taking category, it is giving a different color altogether. If you say, suppose take market, it is giving you a separate color altogether. Correct? So that's basically the difference between discrete and continuous in terms of a graph that we see. This is called a color bar chart. Now let's see how we can color on maps and how we can see a discrete and continuous thing. This looks good, no?
Yeah, but we
So
know the here it's auto selecting the bar chart, right?
auto selecting the
Bar chart like this right now it's a stacked bar chart, I guess.
exactly, it is a stack because we have markets, because we have several markets for one subcategory. That's why.
So it's automatically coming based on the data.
Yes, but then you get the options also, right? If you want to have have this, or if you want to have this, if you want to have this, if you want to have this,
So in the
you can say
same chart, same chart, can we break it down?
yes, yes. So these are the options for you that is coming up.
Okay, this is a breakdown. Okay, picture is coming first. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So let me look at the next thing. So we were talking about maps, no? So how do you get maps? So you for looking at data at map level, see there is something called a state. You just need to double click on it. Once you double click on it, according to my data, what happens is, you know, the longitude and latitude gets defined in the certain portions of the country. Okay. So don't go by the data, don't go by the country, don't go by the states and everything. So that is separate. This is to know discrete and continuous only. Now, once we do this, the map is created. Now, if I put sales into color, see what happens. As sales is a continuous variable, it basically shows me from the lowest till the highest what is the distribution across the country using latitude and longitudinal fields and distributing it throughout the graph. So so that's how we do this, like in maps as well. Okay. So that's basically coloring on maps using the measures. And the next will be, let's see how we can filter the discrete and the continuous, or the measures. The discretes are the dimensions, correct? So let me pull in subcategory to rows again, and let me pull in sales to columns again. Let me do descending. Now, let me pull category to filters. So if I pull category to filters, we get a dialog box to pick up exact things. I can select only say furniture, and I can hit on apply, and I see only the subcategories pertaining to the certain furniture category. I can see the subcategories in there. Okay. Whereas if I put sales into, oh, sorry, sales into the filters, I don't get the same dialog box, right? What I get is an aggregating factor that is coming up, and I want to agree, and I need to go ahead and select one of the aggregation factors. I need to do a next. I need to select range of values and do the next steps that are involved in it. So that's basically where we are in terms of discrete and continuous. Hopefully by these 3 4 examples, discrete and continuous is clear, right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So now we have done mostly all the topics for the day. Let me do the last topic, and we can start from this topic tomorrow as well, maybe. But let's do it. That is called parameters. Parameter is one of the very important topics that comes in Tableau, whereby a parameter is a feature in Tableau which basically helps, um, uh, you select, helps you navigate, helps you arrange, helps you, it's a one-stop shop for all your arranging, viewing, and all those things that you want to do as part of a dashboard. A parameter comes very handy. How? I'll show you why and how a parameter is needed. So let me pull in again, let me pull in sales to columns, and let me pull in subcategory to rows. Okay, so that's how things are. Now, say suppose we want to filter subcategory by top 10 sales. Okay, so what do we do? Um, So we have, firstly we have arranged it. So now what we will do is we will put subcategory into filters, and then we will go to top, then we will go to field, top 10 by sales sum is okay. So we will hit an apply and okay. Now I have my top 10. Now we have my 10 things. Now we have my 10 subcategories in here. Now, say suppose I want 12 subcategories. So what do I need to do? I need to again go to the filter. I need to do the edit filter. I need to change over here as 12, hit and apply and come away. Now tomorrow my client wants to see 7. So what he has to do is again he has to do this. But this is a very weird kind of a process whereby every time you need to edit and you need to do it. So for that reason, because and this cannot be the process in your dashboard, right? So for your dashboard purposes, there is something called a parameter that comes into play. So a parameter basically helps you to solve this what to say, this redundant way of doing the work into a single thing, whereby what you can now do is you can have your subcategory into your filter, go to top by field, where you see 10 by sales. If you see, there is a drop down, click on the drop down and see there is something called a create a new parameter. Okay, select it. Now what happens, a parameter one comes up. Let's name the parameter one as um, what do you want to name it as? Say selection pane. Okay. And what we see, the current value is 10 and minimum is 1 and maximum is 100. Let me not keep it as 100. Let me do it as 20. Okay. And let me hit a OK. Apply. Okay. So you see under the, see now till now we had dimensions and measurements. Now we also have a bracket called parameter named as selection pane. Now if I do a show parameter over here, what happens? I get something like this, which basically is bifurcated into many things, and you can also customize your parameters to, like, this, or type in or anything that you want to for yourself, and you can do it later. You can explore those things. So now 10 is selected. Now my client wants 7. So once they drag it to 7, they want 5, they want 13, they want 17, they want 19. They can have whatever toggling way that they want to, they can do it like this till 20. If you want to edit it, you can edit it to 30, 40, 100, whatever you want to, and you can have a user friendly experience using a parameter. Correct? Now, you can also use parameters in certain other ways, whereby this was to remove redundancy. So yeah, so that is something that you can do. So the next thing that we will see is how to use a parameter, with sets. What is a set? Anyone who knows what is a set? You remember set theory, universal set and subset. So those sets. So we will have sets and we will see how we can do it. So now again we have the sales and we have the, in my rows I have subcategory. So here are two things needed in this scenario, whereby we need a set and we need a parameter to work on that front. Correct? And I want to highlight my subcategories based on those top 10 and top 5 things. So let us first create a set. Okay. So here I go to my subcategory and I click a right click. If I go to create, in create, see there is something called a set, right? So let me create on this set. So what it shows me, subcategory set. So in my subcategory set, what I want is by field, I want a set which will give me all those top 10 stuffs, right? So, but over here we want to have this parameter which was created to select top 20 stuffs. So in my set, I want those top 20 stuffs to be operated and I want to see how is the performance with respect to sales. Okay. So once I'm creating this set, I'll select top, and again in top 10, what I'll do is I already have this parameter created, selection pane karke, right? So I'll select selection pane in here and I'll hit a OK, right? Now let me do something. Now let me bring in, yeah. So this set is created. So now if I bring in the set, okay. Let अच्छा चलो मैं training में हूँ. Let me complete this and then I will talk to you. हाँ, bye. So what we can do is, so now what we did. Oh, sorry, I just put it over there. Now we have the set, the subcategory set. Now if I will go and put it into the colors, what we see is top 10 stuffs always. Now see if I, so how many ever selection we are doing over here, it is showing me the top sales metrics over here. What is it based on? Based on top sum of sales and selected number of parameters. Okay, so if it is not like not, say suppose not sorted, also we can see it. So clear sort. Now if you see it like this, then it will be much more clear to you. What it is showing me is among all these things I have select. So among all these three selections, I want to see the top sales. Okay, and it is showing me that. If I do 2, see this gets removed. Why it is getting removed? Because this sale and this sale is higher than rest of the things. If I select 11, so it shows me all the 11 top sales with respect to all the 11 top sales with respect to the subcategory sales that are defined over here. That's how it works. And what does it mean in and out when we see the legends? What does it mean if I'm selecting 3? These 3 things are in the set. Okay, I've created a set where, what is a set? A set basically is a collection of items which are which I want to keep as a separate, like which are alike. Then you remember in school days we used to have universal set which used to have all these things, and then we had a subset which used to have the, say, even numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 is an even number, and that is a set, a prime number. We used to create a set. So so an even number set, right? Over here we are creating a set which are matching the condition. What condition? Top sales. What is my top sales? That is my condition. And what is in the set is whatever matches the condition. And what is helping to match the condition is the parameter that you've created over here. So that's how parameter facilitates stuffs, and that's how parameters help in, like the visuals and work with the different sets, groups, etc. Parameters very well work with this, and if you use these things in your dashboards, then it makes a very good user experience at the end of the day. Okay, with that, I think we are done for the day today.